I think they're forced to inject the so-called masculine energy, so-called, which is, much is more aggression, the so-called alpha behavior. I've seen a number of women do this at the workplace. Some of them could have been of that kind, that personality by themselves, but I don't think so. I've interacted with them very well. Most of them, I think, have had to inject this to project a certain kind of behavior to fit into, the expected kind of corporate behavior. That I've seen. You can't take anyone for granted. Definitely not. You cannot judge anyone by the, how open they are or how much they laugh or the way they dress at the workplace. All of this is absolutely, it's brainless. Take a person on their merit, focus on the work context and get things done. So respect them as your colleague first, and then everything else can be figured out, or it's not so important. Being human is such a beautiful thing. It's not understood fully in its deepest sense at all. Human is not just this physical body, just the fact that you and I are human beings, but being human means a lot. There are certain traits that come with it, certain kinds of behavior. So just embody that, Just embody that and do unto others what you would expect others to do unto you. And whether that person is male, female, what their sexual orientation is, where they come from, what is their race, creed, just doesn't matter.
Hello everyone. Once again, welcome to my podcast show, Men's Talk Town. I am Flight 11 Sonali. I'm founder of Upskll with Sonali, and I am into leadership coaching and training, soft skill training for corporates as well as academic institutions. So what is the purpose of this podcast? Here, I try to understand men's perspective towards women so as to bridge the communication gap between both the genders and to create a safe space not only for women but also for men. It is a platform where men get their voice, or you can say that they have a voice and they can just speak here. So that's it's all about. And amongst a lot of people whom I have invited, a lot of celebrities, I would say, and eminent people, because I think all of them are celebrities in their own ways. I have another eminent person today here with me, and he is Mr. Ganesh Wanteswaran. Hi Ganesh, most welcome.
Hi, thank you so much. Thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, it's absolute pleasure. Thank you. And how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, rocking.
Great.
Always.
Great. That's amazing, as always. I believe we've been planning this podcast with Ganesh since February 2025. And due to some or the other reason, it was not happening. But finally, I'm really glad that it's happening today, and he's here finally with us. So let me quickly introduce Ganesh, what he does. So Mr. Ganesh Wanteswaran, known as the brand whisperer. And that's your brand name, the brand whisperer?
That's a descriptor I use for myself.
Okay, that's wonderful.
Something that kind of hints at the work I do.
Lovely. So the brand whisperer, it is very unique and very nice. So personal branding coach, business story consultant, keynote speaker. Ganesh helps build brands with magnetic appeal, brands that are on song, brands that keep their target audiences coming back for more, brands that people are proud of to educate, brands whose customers are streaming fans, brands that become legendary and memorable over time. That's amazing. He puts brands on the fast track to growth. Also, he brings clarity, power, and simplicity to their messaging communication. Working on brands is his soul space. So this soul is SOUL. That's lovely. A powerful, authentic brand is vital for your business. It helps you create the right perceptions, connect deeply with your target audience, and make them eager to buy your offering. Whether you are an individual or an organization, Ganesh helps you build that powerful, authentic brand. Also, he trains organizations on business storytelling for impactful communication. He has 20 years of experience in brand strategy and communication for various industries, and he has a vibrant presence on LinkedIn. So I would request all of you to go and check his LinkedIn profile as well, and you can get connected with him. So once again, welcome Ganesh, and it's
Thank you.
really wonderful to have you. So diving straight into the podcast topic, I would really like to understand who are the women in your life and how do you encourage them?
Well, I have many women in my life. Personally and professionally, I've met and interacted with, spent time with so many wonderful women. On the personal front, there is, of course, my mom, my sister, She's elder to me, and my wife. They've played, crucial roles in who I am and what I've done and what I do today, and professionally too. So in the companies, in the roles, in the various consulting assignments I've done, I've met wonderful women, all capable, smart, and people who've inspired me, who've shown me something, who've taught me something or the other. So I respect them, and I think I'm deeply grateful to them. I may not say this aloud every day. I don't have to. I just talk to myself. I say it in my heart. I am grateful, and I recognize and appreciate the role each one of them has played, the contribution each one of them has had in my life. And if it's my wife, for example, we live under the same roof, so I'm able to express this vocally very clearly every day, and I do that. I take every chance to do that.
I remember we met first time in Mumbai, PSS 2025 Mumbai. So when
This February, yes.
yes, this February. So when you heard about this concept or this men's talk town, what were your thoughts about this thing, this concept or this idea? What were your thoughts?
My immediate thought was, and I recall this conversation, we were standing in the corridor,
Yes.
Kiruba, you and I were
Yes,
talking together
yes,
about
absolutely.
this, and you were telling us about this podcast. My immediate response or thought was, this is a very important topic. The importance is what I remember thinking about. That is very important. It is underserved as a topic. People don't talk enough about this. And that was my first thought. So I thought it was refreshingly different and important. I think more and more, how do I put this? It is important to understand men's point of view on various matters, especially regarding those on gender. And I thought the way you spoke about this podcast, I thought you were doing it in a very sensitive.
So when you say that it's important, I would like to understand, is there any particular incidents you recollect where you have faced such kind of an issue, with the gender bias thing when we talk, or generally when people have women bosses, they have a different approach. Maybe if not you in person, maybe your friend circle, your relatives, or somewhere you've heard of. If not all incidents happen with us personally. So
With us,
anything
yeah.
you recollect of this sort?
In what kind of angle or what aspect
For
specifically
example,
do you mean?
when we say that in a particular scenario or a project when there are women bosses, so how it is different, and any particular person who has actually faced, literally when we say in terms of any issues or harassment of that sort, which usually women do face.
See, I've not faced the harassment issue, the harassment at the hands of women bosses. I've had one or two women bosses, one actually, so far, and but I've seen a lot of women and interacted as a consultant over the years with many women who hold senior positions, leadership positions in various industries and organizations. So I've not had any such episode, thankfully. And I've heard one or two men just speak about this, but I've never thought of this, or in my journey or career graph, it's not come up personally. I've not seen this happen.
Okay.
Right? But something interesting, because we're speaking of women bosses, etc. The thing that I've noticed is that in most corporate organizations, I've seen that women, when they come to the corporate workplace, when they come to these workplaces, they become something, they're forced to become something that they are not innately. So they're forced to project a self or a part or themselves in a way that's unnatural. And very simply put, I think they're forced to inject the so-called masculine energy, so-called, which is, much is more aggression, the so-called alpha behavior. I've seen a number of women do this at the workplace. I think they've kind of, some of them could have been of that kind, that personality by themselves, but I don't think so. I've interacted with them very well. Most of them, I think, have had to inject this to project a certain kind of behavior to fit into the expected kind of corporate behavior. That I've seen.
I think the masculine part of it, or maybe so it could be a reason because they want to feel, they don't want to show their softer side. But then,
Yeah.
as you very correctly said, that they are need to change or they need to showcase. They have to
Right.
put on this mask of, being tough, being rigid, or being not rigid, I would say, but being more
Being aggressive.
being aggressive and being more. Yes, don't take me for granted, or I'm not that. Soft person or something, whereas men can be the way they are probably. So what can be done better from, if we see from men's perspective, if say, I'm just trying to understand here, so in an office setup or in a corporate setup, if we have to create this better place for women, if they have to be their own self the way they are. Maybe not all are, some may be aggressive by nature, but not all are like that. So what can men contribute, or what can men do better to make them feel just the way they are?
Okay. I think first of all, the one of the fundamental issues here, or the triggers or root causes for this, is that there is an excess of traditionally, historically, over the decades and centuries, there has been an excess of machismo, aggression, this so-called alpha behavior in organizations, in especially work organizations, corporate organizations, workplaces, right? And that's come because traditionally men have been at the top, men have founded more of these institutions, organizations, and they've also occupied leadership positions. It's only in recent times that we are having even a small number of women occupy those positions, right? And take policy decisions, decisions that can affect the culture of an organization. But earlier they didn't have that agency at all. Agency matlab in the organization, in the hierarchy, in the structure. So first of all, men have to realize that, boss, this kind of thing has always been toxic, while it has, aggression, and that sort of, those traits have their place under the sun. They do, but it is, I think, all pervasive today, and this, hell for leather kind of approach, all of us need to project that kind of approach at all times. So being ambitious, being driven forever, for always, not showing your vulnerability at the workplace, not showing your softer side. These things are unfortunately part of the culture of most organizations. That is something we must work proactively, actively work to change. I think a softening of the organization culture is therefore required. And I think that's an essential, fundamental step to what you and I were speaking of earlier. If this happens, then there is, more psychological safety, the feeling that this is entirely a safe space. And all of us, in fact, I don't say that all men are aggressive too. It's not that, So it's not about man versus woman, but it's about the energy that's expected, right? The traits. So if this softening happens, there is better psychological safety here. And that, I think, will make everyone be their genuine selves, put them at ease, and therefore I think that has or will have an impact on productivity too, on the quality of work.
It's very, very wonderfully you have put it across. And this makes me even think that when a person, say a young, we're talking of, say, a young professional, a young boy, or a young gentleman who has just, graduated, post-graduated, and has joined a job, he might have that fear inside him. Those vulnerabilities are there, or, when they go to the office or when they join the corporate world, they are equally probably afraid, or they have that fear in mind, they're nervous.
Yes.
But again, as per the society norms, as you very correctly said, that boys are supposed to be tough, they cannot cry, they shouldn't be weak, XYZ. So they may be showing as, oh, all good, and I'm chilled out, and I'm very macho kind of a person. Whereas inside they must be crying, or inside they must be feeling terrified at times. So as you very correctly said, it's not about gender, and if there is a space, if there is this department, or for the new joinees, kind of, if they create such a space where they can be their own self, they can have their whole vulnerabilities, or speak out whatever they feel. So that would be a great step. That would be really rather than.
Yes, but I'm saying that the decision, the mindset has to change at the level of the leadership, and all senior male members have to start this process. They have to, the leadership, especially the male leadership, have to start. And we have to be allies in this process. Allies, there's no need for sympathy here, but there is need for allyship. There is need for strong support, behavioral support, and support through thoughts, words, everywhere. So I think the senior men have to take the lead and set the ball rolling, and then executional aspects like having a team, having a certain process, weaving this into the induction process for new trainees. All of that can be done, but the mindset has to change.
Very true. Like probably they would have gone through the same process when they were young, or they had just joined, say 15, 20 years back, so they can relate to the scenario. Very, very well said. Considering your, see, it's not like a question answer thing. I'm just trying to understand, because from your space or your point of view, anything you want to share, you feel free to share. It's just that with your 20 years of experience, 20 plus years of experience in this branding world, as you mentioned,
Okay.
how has the journey been in terms of gender? In the sense, how do you see in your field, what is the percentage of women coming forward to work in this area, or men? How has it been, or what are the changes you have observed?
In the industries I've worked, I've seen a fair number of women work, of a fair number of women do work. So I've been in advertising for a long time. I've been in the communication field, brand strategy and communication field, which is a place where, which are places where you'll find a lot of women. So, which is also why I said earlier that I've interacted with, in different contexts, interacted with a lot of women, and I've had many of them as colleagues and associates. I've always been impressed by the how do I say this? There is a certain innocence I find in them. A certain innocence that I find that they bring, a certain straightforwardness, and that is what I mean by innocence. It's the childlike quality of just being very genuine, of just being who you are, is what they innately come with, and I see that a lot. And I've also been impressed by the way they can systematically go about things, get things done, and seeing something through to the end, seeing something through to completion is another trait that I've seen in many of my women colleagues. And when I earlier said that I've been inspired by some of them, and I've picked up certain things from them, these are a couple of those traits. Some of them have been excellent at strategic thinking. Many of them have been creative. That creative spark has been quite strong. So these are things that I've completely enjoyed, and that has rubbed off on the quality of the work we've done joint. So I've been fortunate to work with a lot of women in the industries I've been in the roles.
That's wonderful. Again, as you mentioned, that when we talk of creativity or performance or these issues, it is not again gender based. As you mentioned that probably in this branding world there have been women throughout, and they have been around. So now, as we see if you talk of performing arts, especially dance and all, even men are coming forward in the classical dance forms, and we know Kamal Hassan and Prabhu Deva, who have been into classical dance. However, not many men also has been into the these kind of performances.
Yeah, not many of them take this up.
Whereas even my Kathak guru is a male dancer, and their gurus, and even Pandit Birju Maharaj ji and all, they are all from the legacy of.
Correct.
So when what I'm trying to also understand is, when we talk of specifically men mentality, or men, how do they think? So we talk of workspace, especially at work, I would say, when these incidences happen, certain incidences, untoward incidences towards women happen. So what do you think could be the mentality, and how can men be more sensitive towards this, I would say? So what could be the trigger points? I'm not saying that it is always men who are at the wrong foot. Maybe what I'm also trying to understand, are there certain lines, or are there certain things which needs to be adhered from women, from the side of women as well, so that we can avoid, and we can see through that these such types doesn't happen.
So are you talking about the instances of sexual harassment?
Yes. Sexual harassment.
Yes,
It could be a
where,
rape.
where there is an overtone of sexual. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Boss, I think we must all realize that any organization is a microcosm of society. Okay, so what happens within the walls of an organization, under the roof of an institution, is in some sense or the other a mirror or a part, an aspect of what's happening outside. All right. So there are these societal factors that definitely come to play even at work. However sophisticated we may think that workplaces are, or even you and I are, as people who work somewhere, however sophisticated we might seem to be or think of ourselves as, however well educated we might be, and whatever be our pedigree, this is a reality. And I think a lot of what we see here in terms of sexual harassment, gender related harassment, etc., and why women have to face the brunt on many occasions is because of this. So the starting point is in society outside, and if I were to go be more particular, at home. So a lot of this really is what we've seen at home, experienced at home, seen our adults do at home, etc., when we were children, and that's great. One has to be sensitive from right there, is what I mean to say. So the sensitivity can't just be built within the organization. I think there are larger factors at play, and all of us, including the men, of course, we have to be sensitive about how we behave at work, at home, how we behave with our partners, our spouses at home, and with the children at home. How are we leading by example? Children observe us a lot. So how are we leading by example? Are we doing that? Are we doing things the right way? So that's one. Specifically then within organizations, yes, definitely there have to be boundaries. I think all of us have to be cognizant of that, men especially. And I've always been. You could be friends. I've had great friends who've also been colleagues who've then become friends, etc. But my funda has always been to let this play out, understand the person as a professional first, give precedence to the work priorities, and then figure out how the relationship, pans out or evolves. And if we both are of the same wavelength, then yeah, we can be friends. I mean, there's nothing wrong. It's indeed beautiful. But that's how I've become friends with some of my colleagues. But strictly speaking, some of the boundaries are that you can't take anyone for granted. Definitely not. You cannot judge anyone by the, how open they are or how much they laugh or the way they dress at the workplace. All of this is absolutely, it's brainless. Take a person on their merit, focus on the work context, and get things done. So respect them as your colleague first, and then everything else can be figured out, or it's not so important. I think this simple funda is what has guided my work life, Sonali.
So I think 2 points that I clearly gather from here is, one is the upbringing, and as we see in our society also, for the people from generations, it has been that kind of upbringing for men, that they have to work, or they are given the priority.
They are, sir. In Hindi, there is a thing about sar pe chadha ke bithate hain, right? Sar pe bithana, which means that you deify them at home. And in cultures like in India, we definitely do that. And that is a problem.
Absolutely. So that is one aspect. And second, I think, which you clearly mentioned, is first focus on the work. Let's not judge the person by the way they are probably talking or dressing or whatever. Let the work shine through, and then you can take a call whether other things needs to be addressed, maybe, or how you want to take it ahead. So that is important. How they are at their work.
Yes. If there is,
because everyone.
Yes. So there has to be respect. There has to be respect. I think there has to be respect, and I think that has to be primary. Absolutely. It is sacrosanct, non-negotiable.
Now, coming towards the end of this conversation, I just want to ask you one certain question is, if you have to, say, hypothetically, give advice or say start an institution for teenage children. So what is that one specific advice you would give them in terms of gender equality or behavioral aspects, so that right from that age we understand that there is no such bias or no such thought processes developed where they consider, okay, fine, women are just there to be for pleasure, or they are, for them that mentality or maybe that kind of things are not rooted in them. So what can be that thing which can be inculcated as growing through their growing years?
Okay. I have a 14 and a half, almost 15-year-old, son at home. So I'm just going to tell you what I've always told him, what my wife and I always have told him, the essence of that. We have these conversations, they're routine at home. I think it's important that we proactively trigger these conversations. So the essence of that, and what I would say to any other teenager, is all of us are born equal in some ways, equal as in terms of skills, capabilities, expectations, desires, hopes, etc. In all of those senses, we're all equal, and no gender has the right to judge another gender, generalize first of all, stereotype, and then judge, etc., etc. So nobody has a right to do that. And I think I look at all this as a very distracting part, the noise around us. So one is to cut away from this noise, and I would say, boss, just focus on being human. Being human is such a beautiful thing. It's not understood fully in its deepest sense at all. Human is not just this physical body, just the fact that you and I are human beings, but being human means a lot. There are certain traits that come with it, certain kinds of behavior. So just embody that, yeah? Just embody that and do unto others what you would expect others to do unto you. And whether that person is male, female, what their sexual orientation is, where they come from, what is their race, creed, just doesn't matter. So I think I would say this, and then I would go a step further. The other big thing I would say is you need to be allies for women, because I think there is a huge imbalance. In the absence of imbalance, nobody needs an ally, you don't have to step up. But I think men definitely have to step up, not because women are weaker in that sense, but because of these institutional, systemic, generational problems and biases that we spoke about earlier. So to correct that, I think we have a role to play. We had a role to play in creating these. So now I think we have a role to play in getting rid of it, erasing them. These are the 2 points that kill them.
Wonderful. And I think like just what you mentioned, I'm just going to paraphrase it, that one is very clearly, as you had already mentioned, one is observation. So how parents or how a man himself behaves at workplace or at home, on phone with other females, I think that creates a lot of picture for the children. As we say, they observe a lot and they don't just go by words. Maybe you might be saying, okay, respect women, and your behavior, your other way around. Then that's a stark contradiction, and he is probably going to adopt more of how you behave rather than focusing on the words. Well, that's clearly important. And second one, I think that what major point you have highlighted, and which I really want to share here and tell the audience, is that please, parents, speak to your children. Be open, talk on these issues, because even today in India, I don't think we have any chapter or any subject as such dedicated to sexual harassment, or maybe these posh kind of things,
or even about
genders.
the broader
Gender,
issue
yes,
of
in biology
genders.
they do have certainly to
Gender,
a certain
yes.
extent, but
Yeah, but not the biological aspect,
not
but
the biological aspect, but the gender
the
study.
sociological,
Yes,
emotional.
sociologically, how the behavior should be and all these things. I
Yeah,
think it's
yes.
really, really important, because we do not have that in our study. So it's important that they speak with their children up front and talk to them, be it a girl or a boy, and let those inhibitions go. Because again, this is that where the gap comes. Probably they go and speak outside, and then the ideas start building up. So they might get into another track. But that's really wonderful, Ganesh. I think you've brought out lots of important aspects today, which were highlighted. And I really feel amazing that I feel people should definitely at least pick a few of them and start implementing. That is where only the change will be seen. So anything you want to add about any other point you would like to add?
Definitely. Okay, if you were to ask me if I have to say something else, it's this, that utopian as it may seem, I definitely envision a time when women don't have to worry about stepping into the workplace, about managing the boss, about the fact, just worry about the fact that she's a woman. A woman shouldn't have to worry or to be apologetic or to be in any sense think less of herself because she's a woman.
I think what you mentioned is it's a deeper point what you mentioned, because if it is say night 11 p.m. I'm okay to work at night, but then the next thought would be, how am I going to reach back home? If that thought lingers in my mind, if that is something which is troubling me, I don't think I can focus completely on my work. So I can't give my 100%. So where, as you mentioned, that if it's a Sunday, it's a Monday, it's any day, and if the day when they just step out to work and they have no other botheration but just the work,
Yeah.
the product,
Any time of the day, dressed any way they want, with anybody.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a super point. I think you highlighted that a world where they don't have to really think about anything but the work or but whatever they are doing.
But not just work. I'm just saying that they can do what they want to do. They can think about their life and go ahead. That's all. Right.
So yes, thank you so much.
And yeah, let's hope that day comes. Yeah, let's really
Yes,
hope that happens.
yes.
And let's do our bit towards that. That's all I can say.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think you have really brought out this wonderful aspect and point where we can visualize this world, and why not? Nothing is impossible. So, thanks for that, and it was amazing talking to you. Thank you for accepting the invite and being on the show. Thank you so much, Ganesh. It was wonderful.
My pleasure too. I totally thoroughly enjoyed this. And listeners, I hope you also took something useful out of this, and you were able to relate to this conversation. That's what I hope.
Right. So
Thank you, Sonali.
thank you so much. And for all the viewers, you can check the description. And if you want to get in touch with him regarding branding or any other point you want to discuss with him, most welcome. And he'll be glad, I'm sure.
Of course,
yes.
of course.
Right. And Ganesh, the brand whisperer, here we go. And thank you.
I'm afraid I didn't do much of whispering. All that I said was quite
no,
loud.
no. It was great. Thank you.